Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
How's it going today?
It's going great. You know what? I mean, it's the end of 2024. Here we are, right? You remember back in 2020 when we were like, is 2020 ever going to end?
Yeah.
And now here we are, like we're way beyond that, right? COVID is now kind of a distant memory for most people.
Yeah.
Although, I'm sure painful for some. There's a lot of people who were lost in that, but we're beyond that. We're beyond the election. We're beyond all the things that happened in 2024. We're here at the end. We're ready for my tradition has always been the Rockin' Eve, right? Like watching that. So we're ready for this. But this is the end. And so, I was thinking that
just the end of the year, right? Not the end of everything.
I don't think it's the end of everything.
Okay.
There's no buttons being pushed or anything like that, but, it's the end of the year and we're looking forward to a new year in just a couple days here.
Yeah.
Right. And so, this is that time when you can reflect back and, I only joined the podcast, in the beginning of 2024, right? Like I came on as a guest for a few episodes and then there was a tap out and I came in and joined you and it's been an interesting, ride.
Yes.
I was excited to do it because I've never done podcasting before. It's an exciting endeavor to try to figure it all out. And we had our rough patches. Listeners probably know, right? Like with the audio.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of struggle with that. We're still working on, potentially doing some video here in the future. But, we've played with the marketing of it. We're not making any money on this. We're not trying to make money. We're not monetizing this thing, but, it's been a ride.
It has.
Right. And we committed to putting one out every week. So this is the 50th episode for 2024. That
50th? Holy cow.
Right. So this would be 50, right? We're going to start an official new season, next week. So, this is the end of that season, but 50 episodes.
Oh my gosh.
We've hit 5,000 downloads, through the podcast,
Congratulations.
Platform. We hit that back in November. We've got, almost 500 on YouTube. Additionally, so even though it's not a video podcast, right? They do post the audio and they have kind of graphics that come up to say who we are. So, people who listen on YouTube, that's been great. We've got subscribers on there. We've got regular listeners. We've had, just so many downloads, so many people listening. And it just boggles my mind because I really don't feel like I have anything to say. That's worth listening to. But I'm glad that people are spending their time listening to us.
Yes.
And my hope for the future is that they would actually, email us.
Yeah.
Through the links that are in the podcast platforms. But, we'd like to hear back and hear some of those things. But, we can get some data.
Okay.
We get data from the podcast platform that we host through, and it gives us kind of aggregate data from all of the platforms that people use.
Okay.
So we only have to, if you've never done podcasting before, we only have to post this in one place, and that posts it through all of the platforms. So, you get Spotify, you get, Apple Podcasts, you get Alexa, you get all these places. Just post it once and it's out there.
Yeah.
Right? It drops at the same time. So anybody can listen from any platform they want, but we get the aggregate data back. And so I thought it might be fun, given that it's New Year's Eve, right?
Almost.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
That we would actually talk about like maybe the top 10 or so episodes, right? Like that we did for this past year and what people have been interested in.
Okay.
Because we can see how many downloads we've had from all these over the past episodes. So, and of course, we're kind of leaving out the most recent ones because that's
true.
So the Christmas time Most
Yeah.
of the December ones, we're kind of leaving off of that, but we're looking back at the full year, and really this comes up through like August. And, maybe it's a little bit of a struggle because some of these episodes we had trouble with audio.
Yeah, we did.
We've got those things fixed, I think.
Yes, you did. Yes.
I'm not hearing negative things anymore about that. But we've got a number of episodes, and I got to say, the number one out of the
Okay, hold on. I just want to make it clear. I have no idea what our top 10 list is.
Sure.
Okay, so I
Should I start with number one, or should I go backwards?
I'd start with number 10. We do
All right.
like the old David Letterman
All right.
show.
I can't officially. Well, I can start with number 10.
Okay.
All right. So number 10, the 10th most popular episode that we have is the one. This is "Do You Feel Insecure?" and this is from May.
Oh my.
So May 27th, we talked about people's insecurities.
I'm insecure talking about that.
Well, you're going to have to get over it. Right. But we talked about insecurities. and
Interesting.
It seems that people are really, were really into that episode.
Well, that's good.
It's kind of mid numbers. I mean, there's several episodes underneath that have similar numbers. So
Okay.
It's a marginal 10. There's
Okay.
a lot of other episodes close to it.
Interesting. I enjoyed doing that because working with all the kids that we do has given some insight as to that, but also even my own struggling to try something new, excited and nervous at the same time.
Right.
So no, I gotcha. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to actually I'm going to move up to number 8. I'm going to skip number 9 for now.
Okay.
So number 8, we had this episode. It was called "Help." I think I'm in a toxic work environment.
Oh, I remember that.
And so this was in August.
Okay.
Right? So, we did this as we came back to work.
Yeah.
And not that our work environment is toxic. It's not. It's awesome.
No.
It's awesome. We love it. But this one had it's had half the listening of this has been in the last 90 days, obviously.
Oh
right?
my gosh.
So it's close, but it had half of that just within a few days of this episode coming out. So half of its listens.
Well,
I feel like people were really into this and identifying with the fact that maybe they're in a toxic work environment, or they know somebody who's in a toxic work environment.
It's having worked. I will say that I have been lucky that I have not been very long in extreme toxic environments.
Yeah.
I've worked with some folks over the years who've made, the work environment a little less than what it could be, but I know plenty of people who have.
Yeah.
And when you're working with somebody that is an energy vampire or a dark cloud, it truly can change the whole environment of the workplace. I mean, definitely lived with a energy vampire, and that sure as heck made the home environment. But yeah, that's really exciting, because if you can change your work environment from a negative to a positive, that can change so many other aspects of your life from a negative to a positive.
Yeah. I mean, for most of us, we spend a good third, at least, if not more, of our day there, and the other, another third sleeping. So, we're spending more time potentially. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can spend 10 hours a day.
Oh, easy.
Doing work. And in any job that I've ever done.
Yeah.
Sometimes more. And so, oftentimes you're spending more time with those people that you work with. And if it's toxic, man, that's just, that's not a good place to be.
Absolutely.
Culture is important.
Especially if you're
toxic culture is terrible.
Well, you and I, we get to do a lot of work on our own kind of thing, being a teacher.
Yeah.
But if you're in an office where you're, cubicles and stuff like that, they can be even more frustrating. Yeah. So, wow, that's
I've been
exciting.
in negative places before. I'd rather take a pay cut and be in a positive culture than make more money and be in a toxic one.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have quality of life.
Well, Sherry's talked about that she's worked in other places where she made more money, but it was a very unpleasant work environment. She says even now she could probably go quit her job and find some place making a lot more money. But she said, I like the work environment. And,
I always see memes where it says that people aren't leaving jobs because of pay. They're leaving jobs because of culture.
Well,
right. It's about the quality of the place that they work.
Well, yeah. I mean,
how they're treated.
I've seen tons of articles about why teachers are leaving schools.
Yeah.
Why they're leaving the teaching profession. And a lot of it has to do with changes, not with working with the kids, but with all the other stuff that surrounds it.
Sure.
So, no, I get that. Okay. Wow. That's exciting. Okay.
So number 7 on this list.
Okay.
On May 6th, we dropped one where we talked about better parenting.
Ooh.
And I don't know. I mean, there seems to be a lot of people listening to this one. I'm not sure what their opinions of it were.
Okay.
I don't know that
if they agreed
I don't know
or not.
that I've been a better parent.
Okay.
Or that I know how to do that. But I know that we suggested, several things about, how some parenting might be better. So,
it is tough to be a parent. I've read recently a good book by Dr. Ben Garber about Holding Tight, Letting Go.
Right.
Was the title of the book. And it's, it is tough being a parent, knowing what to do.
Yeah.
How to, how much freedom to give the kid, but you don't want to give them too much. And you want them to be independent, but you don't want them to get hurt. And so it's golly, it is tough being a parent.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that, that folks found that that episode interesting to listen and obviously share it with so many others. Again, being parents, both of us, and being both a regular parent and a step parent. Being a step parent is probably even harder than being a regular parent because, I will say that I have 2 bonus kids.
Yeah.
And while we may not always agree, I love these kids. And all I want is for them to be successful and happy.
Yeah.
And so they may not always, like I say, see the things the way I see it. But you know what? I'm glad that I have them in my life.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So,
okay, number 6.
Number 6 on this list is actually this one dropped in May as well.
We must have really rocked it in May.
May 13th, right? So we've got 3 weeks in a row here in the top 10. But this May 13th one was about why people get divorced, and this one involved a special guest, Charlie Phillips.
Oh, yay, Charlie!
From
okay,
McKinney, so a lawyer who good friend of
yeah.
yours.
Oh, very good friend.
So and that was fabulous. Great discussion. I think now that we've got the sound even better, I think we should bring him back.
Okay. I bet you we could do that.
I'm sure he's listening. So.
Well, he's actually running for mayor, mayor of the town or the city that he's been a part of for many decades. But oh my gosh, that was we talked about this at the time. You don't go into marriage with the idea that you want to get divorced.
No,
far from it. And I will say that by knowing more about why people get divorced, it hopefully can head things off at the pass so that you don't need somebody like him to come and help resolve your relationship issues. I hated going through divorce. And Sherry and I both have said we will not go through it again.
That was the commitment my wife and I had with each other. Now, obviously, I'm sure lots of people make that commitment and it doesn't work out for whatever reason. And there are obviously valid reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been fortunate. We've made that commitment and we've stuck to it. But she makes it really easy on me. So I think it's, she probably has more reason than I ever would.
It's work. And I got real lucky. My mom and dad made it look super easy. And so when it became a challenge with Eric's mother, it was kind of like, wait a minute, this should be, why are we having these issues? Let's address these issues. Let's talk about these issues.
Yeah.
But as I have learned, so much more now, it's not always easy when one of the two people in this marriage have mental health issues.
Yeah.
And sometimes those mental health issues can create a wedge that you just can't overcome.
Right.
And so, well, before we go to the top 5, what happened to number 9?
Oh, no, I'll get there.
You'll get there?
Yeah.
Okay.
No worries. It'll all make sense in the end.
Okay. Fair enough.
So number 5 here.
Okay.
And this one is a good one. And this one was January 29th.
Oh my Lord, that was a year ago.
This is a while ago.
Okay.
And it's about raising children to be independent.
Ooh.
Right. We talked about making sure that we would do things in such a way that kids would learn to be independent, and you'd have to give them some independence before they left the house.
The primary job of us as parents is to make our kids independent. I was at a conference, a professional counseling conference back in October down in Austin, and that was what one of the keynote speakers said.
Right.
Is that our goal is to make our kids be independent so that they leave the house.
Sure. I mean, ultimately, I've told my kids, someday I'm not going to be here, and you're going to have to handle things. And so I can't do it for you for your whole life. You have to learn to deal with these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to help you as long as I'm here.
Yeah.
But who knows? That could be tomorrow.
Sure.
I could be gone.
Well, the way people drive around here, yeah.
There's a lot of reasons, right? And I like to travel, so I fly, I drive, I do all the things, right? And not all that is safe.
And so true.
You got things like COVID that come around.
Yeah, true.
So, you never know when your time is, and so I have to do my best as a parent to try to make sure that whenever that happens, my kids are in the best shape they can be to be independent.
And it's, and there's a lot of information out there. Obviously, I've learned a lot more since we did that a year ago.
Sure.
But it is the biggest challenge. And I think that's one of the a huge contributor to why marriages fail, because mom and dad wind up ultimately having different opinions on how to raise your children to be independent.
Yeah. And that's where, there's a lot of, I don't know what the research is behind it, but I know that, my wife and I went through some marriage counseling.
Yeah.
Of course, ours was religious based, but there's secular marriage counseling too.
Oh, yeah.
And, trying to head off those things so that they don't become, a big deal, right? Like you want to talk about finances.
Yeah.
Because that's going to drive you towards divorce. Like it's one of the main things. So, but raising kids and having a similar philosophy so that your kid's not constantly playing off of each other and causing arguments, right? So raising them to be independent is important.
Well, that's good. And I'm glad that hit the top 5, because I enjoyed doing that. And with some of the stuff I've been reading, the research that I've come across over, in the last year since we did that, crying out loud. We could maybe revisit something about that.
I'm sure we will.
Okay. Fair enough. Great. All right. Wow.
So number 4, this one actually dropped in February.
Okay.
On February 12th. And we talked about, am I a peacemaker or a peacekeeper?
Ooh, I remember doing that one. That one was fun.
A distinction between peacemaker and peacekeeper, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought that was an interesting episode.
That one was fun, because if you're more of a peacekeeper, well, then you're not really that could potentially create problems. Because I know that in my first marriage to Eric's mom, I was very much a peacekeeper.
Yeah.
And I think that created a lot more problems as the marriage went along. And rather than try to, solve an issue, yes, dear. And it created problems. It exacerbated the problem.
Yeah.
So, wow. I really enjoyed, our talking about that and exploring being able to show how what you say, how you see a problem, how you confront a problem, can either be a positive or a negative. I mean, keeping the peace is fine, but not to the point that it becomes a detriment.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, here at work, I think that a lot of times we play peacekeeper, where no, not that. Peacemaker, where we're, trying to, bring people to the table. Let's solve the issue.
Right.
We do that a lot with our kids, with our parents, with our administrators. I think they do that with us.
I think it's an important skill.
I absolutely. Wow, that is impressive. I am being really shocked by what you have said. I'm glad, but I would have never guessed. Okay.
So, number 3 comes from 1 week before that one, so February 5th.
Okay.
And we talked about, do you learn from failure? And that's a great topic to revisit now at the end of the year, to be thinking about, not to focus on the failure and get all, mired in that, but to see what you can learn from it, and, moving into the next year, what can you do differently?
Well, I am a firm believer that failure is not the end, but the beginning. And that failure means you tried. I like those memes that say you will, crying out loud, how's it go? Basically, 100% of the questions not asked are always no. You will fail 100% of the things that you do not try.
Sure.
And I am a firm believer that trying is, give it a try, give it a whirl. I mean, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I mean, I know these are all platitudes, but
I always like to think of science, right? Like, so when you're doing a science experiment, you have a hypothesis, and you prove the hypothesis to be wrong. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean you failed. You succeeded. You succeeded in proving it wrong.
Well,
and so it's a part of the process. Then what do? You change your hypothesis. You adjust and you move forward. And it's the same thing in life, right? I mean, Lincoln had so many what we would call failures before he was elected president. And,
yes. So failure means you try. Failure leads to problem solving. Failure leads
lead to learning, right?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that it leads to
my students. I mean, if you don't fail at some of this, then you're really not learning, right? Like, what are you doing here?
You're absolutely right.
You don't need me.
Oh, I was recently reading a research article that was talking about the value that comes out of failure.
Yeah.
And so the more we fail, the more we learn, the better off we are. And if you have nothing but success, then when you hit a failure, it's more catastrophic because you're going, whoa, how do I deal with this? I've never had to deal with failure.
Yeah.
So, that's exciting.
I want to save some time for number 1. So we're getting to number 2 here.
Okay. We haven't done number 9 yet.
Number 2 is dropped in January. So this was one of the earlier ones that we did. And we talked about fostering maturity in kids with home duties. So we were talking about chores.
Yes. Oh, I'm a firm believer in chores.
Having kids do chores. And I think this relates back to the raising children to be independent. Right?
Yes.
You teach them to do their laundry, teach them to do their clean up the kitchen, to sweep the floors, to clean the toilets, to do whatever, right? Like,
how to load the dishwasher.
You've got to teach them to do those things, because someday they're going to have to do that on their own somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, I even use that as an example in class. One of the things we talk about in my government class is what made American democracy succeed. And I said, well, okay, we learned how to be an independent nation, make our own rules, live on our own. And I said, just like your mom and dad, they teach you how to cook, to clean, and do laundry. So, yes.
So are we ready for number 1?
Number 1.
And I know you're upset about number 9.
Okay.
So I'm going to connect number 1, number 9, and number 11 together.
Oh, number 1, 9, and 11.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
I'm connecting those together. And
okay.
This really gets to the heart of what we do here, why this podcast exists, and Home Sweet Home and all that.
Okay.
And so number 1 is your story, part 1.
No way.
Number 1.
Holy cow.
And this came out August 5th, right? And then we did number 2, which is in 9th place on August 12th. And we did number 3, looking at the impact of that alienation of children on August 19th. So 3 episodes in a row that land in that top 11.
Oh,
but number 1 out there is Your Story.
Holy
which is
cow.
A remarkable story.
Oh.
Just in the fact that you are here as a sane person at the end of 2024.
Oh, even. Wow. Holy cow. I would have never guessed.
So,
oh, my gosh.
And I know that parental alienation is a big part of your heart as far as, helping people with that. And I know that this is a time of year when there's probably a lot of people out there feeling that and experiencing that.
Yeah.
And so,
I absolutely, I have a big network of people that I connect with, and have for a very long time. And this is, arguably they're coming to the end, but Thanksgiving and Christmas, the holiday season, is the worst for them because you don't get to see your children. I have friends that
you've had to trade, right? And so you don't necessarily get them on the days that you wanted them.
Well, not only that, but if you're alienated from your children because of a very pissed off, ex, you don't get to see him at all. You don't get to see him for Christmas. You don't get to see him for Thanksgiving. You don't get to see him for birthdays. You don't get to see him at all. I've a buddy of mine that actually used to work here. He had to, in order to save the lives of his children, because his ex was convincing them that they needed to kill themselves rather than go see their dad.
Wow.
And so he surrendered his parental rights to ultimately save their lives. And it is horrible for this friend of mine. I got a gal I know that now lives out in California, and she did pretty much the same thing. And she doesn't get to see her children.
That's tough.
So it is.
Hopefully someday that'll get fixed.
I sure hope so.
But there's other people who are in court ordered situations where you have to share, and even sharing can be tough.
It can be
under those circumstances, right? I mean, and I know there's people out there that do this well.
Yes.
And do it in the best interest of the child. And that is fabulous. But not everybody's feeling that.
No, most parents can. Most of the time they can. But it's when they can't that it's a problem for all concerned. Because I'm a firm believer that a child needs to be able to have a healthy relationship with both parents, at least be given a chance. I mean, if the one parent, just estranges themselves by their own actions, okay, but at least an opportunity was given. But with alienation, I was a darn good parent. I put Eric first.
Yeah.
And so it was tough. And these holiday seasons are always, very challenging for me. But anyway, that just boggles my mind.
So Rod's Story Part 1 is by far the number 1 episode listened to. So that's definitely struck a chord with people, and must have been shared in order to get people to listen to that. So
wow, I'm humbled.
Several of those have been in the last 90 days since that episode. It's been way more than 90 days since that episode.
Yeah.
But, it's a lot of those have been even recent. So people are finding it and getting out there on that.
I'll be darned.
I mean, your story is unbelievable.
Well,
and if you're listening to the podcast for the first time and you haven't heard Rod's story, you need to go back and look for August 5th of 2024 and Rod's Story Part 1. Search that one up. That one, you definitely need to listen to that and to get an understanding of where Rod's coming from and what his heart is with all this.
Well,
so.
I am humbled beyond words. Would have never guessed that rated ours our number 1. I mean, of all the things we do, that rated number 1. Holy moly!
Yeah.
Wow.
And we I'm sure that it'll continue to get listens. And I didn't even look at, to see, on YouTube where those things pan out, because it's a different, it's a different set of stats.
Yeah.
And so it's, just not something that I actually went over, but.
Well, that's still very exciting. I mean, 50 episodes this year, and I'm impressed and excited. This is a fun project we do. It is absolutely a labor of love. And I thoroughly enjoy not only our regular conversations on this, but the fact that so many people enjoy tuning in and listening to us carry on.
Yeah, I mean, we probably don't even know what we're doing. Right.
Well, we're no Joe Rogan, that's for sure.
Yeah. Your Rod's Story Part 1 got the most viewership time on YouTube as well. So,
wow, no way. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So it's, people are listening.
Well, if we can help make people's lives a little bit better, then mission accomplished.
Well, we are going to, looking forward, we're going to try to continue to have an episode every week and do 52 episodes in season 5.
Okay.
And,
so season 4, goodbye. It's been fun, but hello, season 5. Gosh, 5 seasons of Home Sweet Home. And to thank
Who knew?
I sure didn't.
Not me.
Sure didn't.
I looked at your original date. I think it was May 21st was the first episode of 2021, which is a week before I moved to Texas.
So, oh my gosh.
So we didn't even know each other.
No.
And wouldn't know each other for several months after that. So
no.
It's been a ride.
Yes, and a fun one it has.
It is.
Well,
2025 is coming. Just less than 48 hours away.
Yeah. Oh, well, good grief, good grief. This has been a very fast year. With lots of changes that have come. I cannot wait to see what 2025 brings. So fingers crossed.
Well, this has been fun, and it's been a fun year, and I'm traveling in Florida, so this has been great, and I'm going to get to celebrate my new year an hour before you. But
all right,
enjoy it, and
that's the plan.
And happy New Year to everyone,
and to you as well, my friend.
And we will. You'll hear from us next week.
All right. Well, until next time, Happy New Year and goodbye. I'm Rod.
I'm Scott.